Hello and namaste, my beautiful friends. I am Jill Loftus of Nuit Astrology. Welcome to your planetary energy forecast for the week of May the 26th, 2025. Now, this week will wrap up the month of May and introduce us to June. And, there's a lot to like about this week. Now, we also are beginning this week with this brand new understanding because Saturn has just slipped into the sign of Aries for the first time in 30 years. Now, going back and looking at the echoes from that time period could be really helpful. But I would also, it's also important to note that Neptune is standing right there. And so the two of them coming together, the force of stability and the force of nebulousness, the force of structure, the force of dissolution of structure, both at the very beginning of the zodiac, very powerful placements, very much a new vibe. Now, so as we start the week, we're still looking for the symbols, for the events that indicate what this kind of monumental shift will be, what it will be like for us personally and for the collective as well. And of course, we're looking at the element. Neptune is typically considered to be the energy of water. It is now in the sign of fire. Saturn, the sign of structure and stability, which is typically associated with earth, is now also in fire. So I think you'll be seeing some of these elements as we begin to understand this new initiation of energy. I would definitely say that this could cause continued volatility with weather and weather events. So that's something definitely to keep an eye out. So we start this week with that new understanding starting to be expressed. We also start the week with a powerful, beautiful new moon. I'm loving this new moon. It is at 11:02 p.m. Eastern, 6 degrees, 6 minutes of the sign of Gemini. Now, very early in Gemini, right? Six degrees. So that therefore means before the moon becomes new, one of its last things that it will do in the sign of Taurus is come in contact with Uranus. So I would say, even though they're, pretty far away from each other, this has a little bit of a Uranian element to this new moon. Because remember, Uranus is going to be moving into the sign of Gemini next month. And so this is a very monumental shift that we're looking for. And so this new moon may have some signals, some implications that tell us, hey, there's something really big that's going to be coming in the Gemini area of life. Now, this lovely new moon also features the moon sextile to Saturn, sextile to Neptune, Mercury in Gemini, sending beautiful energy to Saturn, to Neptune. So Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. And so to have the ruler in such a lovely configuration with these outer planets really makes this a bigger than normal new moon. This new moon is also featuring Mercury with a trine to Pluto. And so again, there's just some consequence here. There's information coming in through local channels, right, Gemini, that really portend the larger cycles at play. So definitely a time to ritualize this new moon for sure. Now, that trine between Mercury and Pluto actually comes the next day on the 27th, but I think that you will see that evident in Monday, but also in Tuesday. And, it really is a time to try to take advantage of the last bits of Jupiter moving through the sign of Gemini. So whatever area of life that is, the Gemini area of life, Jupiter bestowed blessings upon it. Jupiter's prepping in just, a few days after the beginning of the month of June to move into Cancer. So let's take advantage of those opportunities, those things in the Gemini area of life. It could also be that this new moon, it's like those beneficial blessings came through, the optimism, the hope, the ideas, the offers, and now that area of life is prepping to receive the planet Uranus. Now remember, Uranus won't get very far into Gemini before it retrogrades back, and that's something that we have to pay attention to with all of these outer planets, with the exception of Pluto, who has fully committed to Aquarius. All of these outer planets are just dipping their toes into the beginning of the new sign. And again, I keep telling people this, there's gonna be people that cling to the past and say, oh yeah, well, it'll all go back to normal. There is no normal. The baseline has moved, okay? So adapt. Now, I'm also keeping an eye on the 30th of the month as Mercury and the Sun meet. Now, as you know, we call this the cazimi. It's when Mercury's getting close to the Sun, close to the Sun, close to the Sun. And as it does, the energy of the Sun can tend to make the energy of Mercury a little more erratic. But then there's this moment where they meet and kapow, amazing information comes through. Now remember, this is all taking place in Mercury's favorite sign. Geminis, Virgos, this is such a peak week for you guys, all right? But for all of us, it's helping us to embrace our high vibrational Gemini qualities of being able to multitask, of being nimble mentally, being able to communicate with many people, upping our social skills, upping our versatility, our ability to juggle many things. And therefore also we must watch the shadow of Gemini, which is telling untruths or big stories or stretching the facts a little bit, not sticking with something long enough to actually see concrete results or follow through. Being so lost in all the potentials that you don't pick one and move forward. And then, of course, the whole idea of creating castles in the mind that really bear no resemblance to reality, but are what you wish to believe, right? Instead of understanding the reality of how things are. So some tips for that time period. Now, we're also going to watch Venus at the end of the week, and as we enter into the month of June on June 1st, Venus is traveling very closely with Chiron. Venus, who we love, what we're passionate about, how we spend our money, what we think is beautiful, with the symbol that relates to feeling left out or excluded. The symbol of Chiron, which indicates where we feel damaged or not whole. There's a great opportunity here for healing, but there's also an opportunity for a certain amount of erratic energy because Eris, the goddess of discord, is sitting at the same degree as Chiron. Now, they're going to be sitting together, all right? And so there could be disruptive or sudden events that really expose to us the work that we need to do on ourselves. And with Venus giving it an extra little push, it could complicate things that relate to love and money. So we may see some things revealed at the end of the week that we're not really happy to see, or they don't feel comfortable to recognize or to know. It's like, I don't feel good about that. Understand it's just showing you where the work is to be completed, where the effort needs to be put in order to come to wholeness, right? We're all broken in some way. Humans don't do perfect. We never have, we never will. There are no perfect people, only perfect moments. So I also want you to kind of keep an eye on this idea of Neptune and Saturn traveling together. In the highest expression of it, couldn't it be the idealization of Neptunian a Neptunian vision, a more spiritual cosmic vision, and Saturn there showing us the way to build that vision, to really construct it so that it actually can last? This is when we get the inspiration, right? These first few degrees. They'll back up into Pisces here at the end of the year. And again, there'll be more dissolutions and maybe even disillusioned people, right? As things dissolve. But they commit to that fully next year. And we need to see wisely what is coming apart in the Aries area of life, and how it needs to be rebuilt better, stronger, longer lasting. So that's going to be happening for a while. It's going to be really hard to separate those Neptunian and Saturnian energies. But Aries energy has quite the signature, right? Very bold, very fresh, very new, very adolescent sometimes, very angry sometimes, very action-oriented, blowing up and then chilling out. But remember, those blow-ups have consequences. If you've ever loved an Aries person, and I have an Aries moon, so bless my people, right? Aries has this passion and sometimes this immaturity. So it says or does the thing and then has deep regrets. Or in true Aries fashion, and I wouldn't say this about me, but some Aries people, especially Sun and Rising, they just move on. They get over it. The people that experience that blow up, they don't get over it. They don't move past it. They don't forget. So if you have Aries points in your chart and you know you have this tendency, I suggest that you calm down, that you slow down. You might truly break apart something that you really value, love, and want to keep in your life. So maturity is the name of the game. Now, there are two significant moon voids, not super long, but I want to mention them. On the 28th, the moon is void from 9:01 a.m. Eastern till 1:33 p.m. Eastern. And on the 30th, from 12:50 p.m. Eastern to 4:17 p.m. Eastern. Now, I know a lot of people are at major crossroads making big decisions in their life. These are not times to sign contracts, make major commitments, all right? Be sure to get on my website. I always post a moon void chart for multiple time zones on the website and the blog. So look there if you're trying to lock something in. So for the light of the week, well, it's a new moon. I'm stoked about this new moon. I'm also really liking Mercury having these lovely interactions, these lovely blessing connections with some of the outer planets. I really feel like this is very idea oriented, especially with the energy of Mercury in Gemini. Now, I'm watching that Venus Chiron Eris thing. It often makes me think of, well, not often, but I would say when I try to download an image, when I think about this, I think about an injured animal or an injured child who, as someone's trying to help them, they're thrashing, they're pulling away, they're not wanting to be, they don't know who to trust because they're hurt, right? And that's what I see this energy as being about. And so know who you can trust if you're hurting. And if you're trying to help somebody who's afraid, understand that fear that they may have, or that they may feel that they don't want help because they don't want to have to repay you, right? They don't want to feel like they're indebted to you. Or, a lot of people have a really kind of warped sense of receiving help. I know I did for most of my years on this planet, right? So think about that when you try to help others or receive help yourself. I'm also keeping an eye on Neptune and Saturn conjunct. We did such a poor job in humanity of managing Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces, and now they come together in Aries, the fighting sign, the Mars-ruled sign. I'm a little unhappy with the way humanity's handling these energies lately, I must say. And also, at the end of the week, and this isn't going to be really this week's forecast, but next week's forecast, when Jupiter gets into Cancer, it's going to be squaring both Saturn and Neptune. Now, Jupiter-Saturn squares in particular really set up these longer-term cycles. And if you have never watched World Astrology Report on YouTube, this amazing astrologer, whose name is totally escaping me once again, but the guy on World Astrology Report, he really knows what he's doing with mundane, which is the world event kind of astrology. He really has some heads up out there. Now, I know some of the thumbnails are a little, inflammatory, but that's why he has tens of thousands of likes and I have 100, okay? I'm not playing that game. That's his gig, that's fine, but he really has good information and he can explain much better than I can that Jupiter-Saturn cycle. So be sure to check out his channel if you're interested in some of the world event astrology, which is his own genre. My deal is helping people. That is my deal. All right. So stay tuned for the Celtic Cross. It was really, really fascinating. I did it on the new moon, and I did post yesterday, Saturday, I posted a Isis Lotus Tarot spread, and there's a ton of crossover between the two tarot spreads. So I found that to be intriguing, and you might find that helpful if you have the time to watch that video as well. I hope you found this useful and helpful. I appreciate your support and encouragement. I wish you the most marvelous new moon and wonderful week. And then let's stick around and take a look at the Celtic Cross. Hello, my beautiful friends. Let's do a Celtic Cross reading for the week of the 26th. Let's attune our focus to this new moon that occurs on Monday, May the 26th. This new moon occurs at 11:02 p.m. You know, it's something to kind of focus on. Do note that the moon is void. Look it up for your time zone, but it's void until from the morning until about 1:21 p.m. So make sure you may even want to save your rituals for the next day or for sometime after 11 p.m. Definitely some volatile energy here with the contact with Uranus before it becomes new. Sending some gorgeous energy to Saturn, to Neptune, to Pluto. I mean, really powerful new moon here. So what does the collective need to know about the intention setting for this moon? Okay, my darlings, the first card is us. Here we are. Isn't this fascinating? 8 of Pentacles. I just did the Isis Lotus Tarot for this week, and this card is on one of the sides of the spread as a way of moving forward. So this is a fascinating card to get. The 8 of Pentacles is the card, I call it the apprenticeship card. You're gaining new skills, you're studying, you're learning. It could be philosophical, it could be practical, it could be you're wrapping up a course or class, but it could be that you have an exciting idea and you need to do some research, but you're in this research phase for this moon. And it's kind of makes sense. The new moon is in Gemini, and Gemini is a very mental, mercurial sign. What's crossing you is the Fool. So remember, I know sometimes it feels like all of life is out of our control. There's nothing we can do, but we can. We are manifesting this reality. We live in this world because we choose to. We choose, and not maybe you, and not maybe me, but some part of our soul attunes to the chaos, to the harm, to the anger, to the fear that we live in, right? There's some resonance there, or we'd be beyond it, right? So we have to step into that understanding of the Fool, the one that others perhaps might feel is foolish or silly or concerned with strange things like, I don't know, astrology and tarot, or cosmic consciousness, or growing food, or whatever it is that the people that I know you and I both get the side eye from sometimes, right? But we know how it works, okay? That's part of the magic of this universe. Once you tap into it and understand it, you can work with it. And the Fool finds its path, their path, through play, through joy, through fun. Now, in the past, 3 of Swords, some difficult emotions. This same card also appears in the Isis Lotus Tarot spread for the week. So yeah, we're coming from a place of a little bit of sketch here, a little bit of nervousness or stress. And in the future, the 7 of Wands, we need to set some better boundaries here. Maybe this is less time on media. Maybe this is boundaries with friends. But there's something about this new moon that says, hey, maybe you need to spend more time, utilizing techniques to calm the mental agitation. Maybe as this Gemini, in the Gemini sector of your chart, look at that and think, where do I need to set better boundaries in the Gemini part of my life? Crowning thoughts, well, we're clearly worried, we're stressed, but remember, in the 8 of Swords, they aren't touching her. These are thought forms, these are potentialities, but they are not actual things to be juggling. So liberate yourself from negative thinking. Subconsciously, Page of Wands, you know there's something new that needs to take place, and that is what the intention should be set around for this new moon. Advice, 7 of Cups. Yeah. Gemini energy is very much, I like to say, Jill of all trades, mistress of none, or maybe mistress of many. But, try not to be too scattered. Gemini energy can be sometimes, called the butterfly, flitting from thing to thing. Try to be more intentional and do less things better instead of many things halfway. So really focus your intention for this new moon. Outside influence, Six of Pentacles. There's a lot of things right now demanding your attention, your time, your money. That is influencing this scattered energy here. So be aware of that and try to tighten things up. That could even be related to this boundary setting card. What do you want to happen? 10 of Wands. Well, I would say 10 of Wands appearing in the I want this to happen area indicates that we are perhaps taking on too much or feeling like we have to do it all by ourselves or we are the only ones that know the way. And so it's important to remember there is help, and help can only be provided from beyond if we ask, if we humble ourselves, if we pray, if we meditate for guidance. And so don't feel like you have to make this so hard. And then finally, the outcome, Five of Wands. Well, we've got some conflict here, some worry, some concern. This is not going to be a super easy new moon. Let's look at the reader's fan for a little bit more energy of understanding. Two of Wands comes up, which says, hey, there might be a decision that you need to make. Nine of Cups. This also came up in the Isis Lotus spread. So there is a silver lining somewhere or some good news coming your way. We've also got the Hermit. Definitely take some time. Pray, meditate, time alone, time in nature. Withdraw while you are preparing to choose what you want to manifest for this powerful new moon. And then the Star. This also came up prominently in the Isis Lotus Tarot spread. This is the key card of the future. And so this is influencing this new moon as well. So let's, I don't know about you, but I want to 3-card this Five of Wands. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, clearly some kind of ending this week. We want to be a little careful, cautious. With the Uranian influence and with the outer planet influence, there could be some dramatic changes. Now, think about this. Remember, in fact, Nadia Shah just did a video on this, and I can't wait to watch it. I have so much respect for Nadia. She's incredible. And she did one on the Great Sextile, which is where the 3 outer planets are going to be in a beautiful combination. Now, outer planets' energy is not easy, okay? It's difficult. And when they enter new signs, especially because they're all going to be flowing beautifully together when they're somewhat newly in their signs, this is like, whoa, what is this new thing? Like, what is this? I don't understand this. It may be something that, many of us, most of us, we've never experienced Uranus and Gemini. We've never experienced Pluto and Aquarius. This is brand new. And so there's something here about us really deeply understanding these things. Okay, let me stop talking and start listening to the cards. Okay, so what is that conflict energy? There's an offer or a new idea. Six of Pentacles. That requires our time and energy. And karma, the Wheel of Fortune. So the wheel is turning here, and there's something we're conflicted about. There's going to be something that's coming towards you, and you're just, I don't know. You've got to pour the energy into it. There's a part of you that doesn't want to or doesn't trust it, but it's bigger than you are. And again, here comes the Star. So it is about picking up the pieces and beginning again. All right, my beautiful friends, I hope you found that useful and helpful. Please comment below. It really does help the channel. And please hop on my website, sign up for my newsletter. Namaste. I wish you the best week.